The Spontaneity Shop presents the Guilty Feminist 10 for 10 with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Felicity Ward. Felicity Ward, welcome to 10 for 10. This is the Guilty Feminist, where we ask 10 guilty feminist regulars about the last 10 years in feminism and the next 10 years. Welcome to my home and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. I forgot this was filmed and I'm wearing a jumper.
It's a lovely jumper though.
Thank you.
It's a good colour on you.
Oh, stop.
And it makes you look sporty. It says Beach Club Volleyball.
That's right. I'm a sporty gal. I'm not.
Now, Felicity Ward.
Deb.
Do you remember your very first Guilty Feminist appearance? I don't remember everyone's, but I remember yours because it was very early on.
Yeah, it was very early on, and I think it was at Up the Creek.
Yes,
and with
in
Sophie.
Greenwich. Yes.
And was it technology?
No.
No, hang on. Okay, advertising.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
It was a great episode. If anyone wants to go back and listen to it, it was really good fun. I think I made an ad for the Guilty Feminist as my challenge.
I forgot about the challenges.
Yeah. Can we play a clip, Ned, of Flick at this? This is the 5th ever Guilty Feminist.
Was it only the 5th?
It's the 5th ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the wonderful Felicity Ward.
I wonder if my voice sounds different.
So, Felicity, advertising, is this something that affects you very much?
I thought that it didn't. And then it was actually just before the show, it was the only time I've written a letter of complaint. And it was only a couple of years ago. And it was when I was just like getting my feminist wings. And that's not a period joke. I mean...
Good joke.
It was.
Good joke.
It was
joke.
when I first started to. So I'm sorry, this is a lot of backstory, but settle in, cunts. Anyway, that's not a pejorative term. It's a term of endearment. I'm Australian. These are some things that I know. I used to do a sketch show that was on television. I know that. But I remember being
I
the
don't.
first interviewed, and they said, "What do you think of female comedians?" And this is a decade ago, right? A decade. And what I said
20
was,
years ago
as long
now.
as they're not talking about women's stuff, they'll be fine. And I remember when I read that years later, I'm like, oh, the feminists are going to kick me out. and so years later, a couple of years later, I started doing stand-up and I started to read and become a little bit more aware of the culture around me. There was this ad and it said, it was 4 women holding shopping bags and like looking cheeky. And it said, spend his money wisely. And
This episode, you came in really hit the ground running. That's like stand-up comedy, but you were being interviewed as a guest. Like you came in, you were so fast and funny immediately. So I guess that's why when I went into finding co-hosts, I immediately thought of you.
Yeah, I think I was so excited to be there. And even at such an early stage, like there was just a fire about the podcast. Like the name alone is just like, take my money.
Yeah,
like it does. It's so, and at the time, like, I don't know if How to Be a Woman had come out maybe a couple of years before the Caitlin Moran book. And that was kind of my first, 101 introduction to feminism and understanding feminism. And so anyway, that's a tangent. What a surprise. But
I'm interested in that. So you came into feminism through Caitlin Moran's How to Be a Woman.
Yeah.
It definitely wakened me up as well.
Yeah. It was a real zeitgeisty book, and for people who needed something a bit easier to digest than Bell Hooks or didn't know who Bell Hooks was or, any great sort of feminist, it was like, oh, here's a popular culture book and here's a woman about your age, maybe a bit older, and she talks about music and that's how she talks about her version of feminism. And I was really into, and still am really into music, and that was all of my teenage years. So I suppose there was something that I could identify as in her as a person, but also like in my 20s, I just had lots of hangovers from how I grew up, which was very working class. My dad's pretty sexist. I wanted to impress my dad and I wanted boys to like me. And so I did lots of pick me behavior, but not a girl that looks like a pick me girl. Like I was weird and androgynous looking, but acting like I looked like I was from Clueless. Do you know what I mean? So that when I hear women in their 20s now where they're like, I'm not a feminist, I'm like, you might get there.
Yeah.
I'm not as judgmental or harsh to go, oh my God, how can't you be a feminist? It's like the reason that you can talk so freely about you not being a feminist is because of feminism. And maybe you'll get there.
Yes.
When you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s saying I'm not a feminist, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because I think life has definitely knocked you into a place at some point where you've got that choice to go, I'm with this team or this team. I had almost the opposite experience of that. Is I was desperate to be a feminist when I was in a religious cult, came out, went to university, thought, I'm going to be a feminist, everyone's going to be a feminist, and discovered it was a period of time when it was more girl power and people saying, well, are you trying to get extra? I remember that at university. Well, women have got equality now. If you're trying to get an edge, you're trying to get extra.
Interesting.
And it really wasn't available. And then by the time Catamaran came out, and lots of other things were happening at that time, Chimamanda brought out We Should All Be Feminists. Malala made that extraordinary sacrifice and then came out and did a lecture at the UN.
Yes.
Fleabag came out, which was, ideas around feminism that came through comedy and was a sort of, more left turn into it. Bridget Christie did a Bic for Her.
Yes.
So there was a lot in the ether.
Yes.
And I remember my conversations turning to feminism. I remember there was that, I can't remember his name now, but that professor who said, I don't want women, scientist, he said, I don't like women in the lab because they fall in love with you when they cry. And I just was so livid about it because people were going, oh, but he's a nice guy. Oh, he was joking. That I have a massive, massive, massive problem with.
Why?
For science. Let's take feminism out of it. For science.
Yeah.
Because the best people aren't getting into the roles. And I remember...
But that's like, you look at all the women that were married to scientists, you look at the women who co-wrote or ghost-wrote their husbands' books. You look at all the women in, like, the black women involved in astrophysics and space and, like, that's everywhere. That's not just science, it's everywhere.
And that got me so worked up. I remember that's how I started the podcast. Sophie Hagen and somebody else, another woman, walked in to have lunch with me somewhere. Before they'd taken their coats off, I was just ranting about it. And I remember finally they sat down and I went, I'm so sorry. I've not even said hello. How are you? And they went, no, we love it. We love this. This is how we're feeling. We love this kind of fury. And I just felt like every time I met my female friends for lunch, instead of talking about, at this period, 2015, instead of talking about our own love lives, our own careers, who's casting that, why didn't I get that, which would have been the pettiness of the previous 10 years, suddenly we were talking about equality in politics and what we're angry about. And it was a really exciting time.
When Bic for Her came out, it was the same thing. It just seemed like there was a couple of things in a row. And then when the Guilty Feminist came out, it was the funny version of feminism. And it made it a women's club rather than it just being a political fight. It made it a club that we are all welcome in. And that the guilty part of it meant that you could be fallible in here. And I think that was... that's what made it so enticing and that's what made it so exciting. Like, I still think about that fucking Palladium show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it felt like a revolution. It felt like a secret, but it felt like this popular secret that, like, it was a club, Yeah. I mean, it was a cult, let's face it. It was a cult. But it was electric to be a part of that. And then when Emma Thompson came out on stage.
Oh, that was amazing, yeah.
And she was like, this didn't exist. I didn't do stand-up comedy because this didn't exist.
Yeah.
These audiences didn't exist.
Exactly.
And I know that I've said this to you before, but I remember when you were doing a tour, you were doing a live tour, and I remember doing stand-up and I was talking to either Celia or Jess Foster-Q, and I was like, this is what it must feel like to be a man doing stand-up. Because you would walk out and the audience they were a loaded gun. They were like ready, they had their laugh on standby for you. And they were so excited that you were there. They were so excited that they were there and they were all doing this together. And it I'm not here to just piss in your pocket, but it really felt like a movement, especially amongst female comics, where you created something where all of a sudden we didn't have to compete in a male arena or like a male-dominated industry. You created like our own industry, like where we could have all the things that we wanted there, but we didn't. It's like a matriarchy. It was like doing stand-up in a matriarchy rather than a patriarchy.
I remember that morph where I understood it was like a microclimate for success for women.
Yes.
Because it's not an easier environment, because anytime I've had men on, I've felt, even though they've been very successful in many, talented men, it's just the audience just are like, we'll hear you out, but you better have something to say. They're not impolite, but they're not automatically generous. They're not projecting brilliance onto the men.
That's what it's reversed. It's the alternative universe.
It's the alternative universe.
Like the amount of times that in the beginning of my career, not so much now, but at the beginning of my career, you'd walk out to clubs and men would leave. Men would cross their arms, women would grab their boyfriend's hands. All that stuff where they're like, you better blow me away. Mm-hmm.
There's no projection of brilliance. There's a projection of, you better be funny.
Yeah.
And that's how men are treated on the podcast, on the Guilty Feminist. Yes. Not always, but if they're a stand-up.
But it's an intruder.
Yeah. Yes, it's like, we'll hear you out. There's an automatic suspicion. Actually, I don't think it's as bad as how women used to be treated in comedy clubs. I shouldn't say it's not a direct equivalence.
No, it's not.
But there's just a sort of, okay, we'll see how you go.
But it's the same with men in the audience. You're a guest here.
Yeah.
That's how they're treated. You're a guest here. Yeah. And I think that, I don't know if that security and safety existed in stand-up for me before then. But what it does, the other thing that it does is it gives you the confidence that when you do go back into clubs, you're like, I know I can absolutely rip a room. Like I can make 600 people scream with laughter. And when you're getting that every night in clubs, then you believe that about yourself.
Yes.
And I thought that I was a good comic, but it gives you something extra. If you respond very well to a good audience, which I do, the more people laugh, the funnier I will be. That's just how I work. I'm a dopamine addict. I love it. It gives me access to a part of my brain that I don't have if I've got a flat audience. I can still fly if they're a flat audience, but if they're electric, we can create something that cannot possibly be created in any other dynamic. And with Guilty Feminist, that's what it did for me, where I was just like, I might be really good at this. Mm. And so I could take that it's like I could get oxygen from Guilty Feminist gigs and then I could take them into the clubs.
I think that's absolutely right, because it's a place where you prove irrevocably to your own brain that you are this funny. So you walk with a different kind of swagger into a comedy club and you're like, I know how funny I am. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes proving it to you. I'm going to hit that ground running.
Yes.
And at the Guilty Feminist, I think the assumption became quite quickly, if I booked the act, we're going to like you. Because this is a space where we're in on the joke.
Yes.
They're not going to suddenly come out with something. That's why I think I feel a lot of women in comedy clubs feel a bit held, like, am I going to suddenly be the butt of the joke, or is a terribly traumatic experience of mine going to suddenly be one where the whole room is laughing, albeit nervously, some people, but suddenly there's going to be some horrendous reference to SA or something like that that's going to make me feel traumatized. You don't have to worry about that at the Guilty Feminist.
Yeah. And in fact, that's something that I loved about the Guilty Feminist is I would sometimes, I wouldn't intentionally do it, but they got so sensitive as an audience that sometimes I'm like, I'm going to say something that's going to make you feel uncomfortable on purpose, because they got so literate that at a point they were more worried about being right than enjoying themselves as an audience.
I think there's certainly some Guilty Feminist audiences. I think it depends on the venue.
It depends on everything.
It depends on the night.
There was a period I remember where they got more and more and more educated, and we did too, and you did too, and you led us all there. And
I think I was definitely led by the audience on that. But
do you?
Oh yeah, because I was, I would get emails.
Yes.
But I remember once I was in the Udderbelly, the big upside down purple cow on the South Bank, and I was trying to do stand up about something sexual because the theme was orgasms, and it was Rachel Paris co-hosting, and I was trying to do stand up, but I was so busy trying to fit in all the pronouns and options caveats for how different people orgasmed, that the joke got lost, and I was like, I got to stop.
Yeah.
I've got to do one caveat at the top and then just do the stand-up as I've got to do the stand-up, because jokes aren't funny when they're not worded correctly.
Yes.
And sometimes brevity is what gives you the punchline.
Yeah, I have this, I did this stupid video. The joke was, I know they've got Hinge, but I can't believe they haven't come up with a female-only app called Minge.
Right.
And anyway, it was, lots of people were like, oh, that's a bit, that's transphobic. And I was like, hey, man, if you want to know about my politics, this is a trans-friendly place. This made the joke work. Right. I am fully inclusive of, and I thought about it when I said it. Like, I'm like, okay, there's going to be non-binary people that have vaginas. There's going to be men that have vaginas. I get all that. And that's not going to get the joke out. And I would hope that my 17-year body of work, my political activism, my involvement with queer people, coming out as queer, you would hope that there would be enough understanding of who I am as a person, how I act in the world, to know that while that joke doesn't include literally every person, it is also a one-line joke. And I've got
it's a broad brushstroke.
It rhymes.
Right. It's a broad brushstroke. It's not a complex joke. It's not answering a complex question.
No.
But it's not also, I think the good thing about the Guilty Feminist is that we can have stand-up that 99% of the time is worded in a way that I think doesn't alienate. And then we can have the more serious, we can change the gears, we can have the more serious conversation where we do have those inclusive conversations. Yeah. But stand-up's a tricky thing sometimes because you've just got to go bada bum.
It's got to have the rhythm and the word economy.
And it's so difficult to do that in a way that includes everybody all of the time.
Yeah.
And some people might argue, well, then do a different joke. Fair enough.
Yeah. Also true.
Also true. And so I think it's probably a lifelong thing for you and me and other comedians who want to be inclusive to challenge ourselves, to go, okay, that's what I could write in the time available.
I'm constantly thinking about that. There is no jokes that I write, and like at the moment I'm writing this new show, and I'm talking about like the men that I've dated, the women that I've dated, the non-binary people that I've dated, and I don't ever think about writing those jokes without thinking about all sexes or all genders, or like that is something that's definitely just I mostly implicit in the way that I write, or the way that I think about writing jokes.
Do you remember the very first episode you co-hosted and what you discussed? We had a very special guest. That might help you.
Was it Phoebe?
Yes, Phoebe.
Was that the first one? Oh my God. Also, I remember everyone was talking about Fleabag, and I don't like to watch things that everyone else is watching. If I feel like I've missed the boat, if I feel like I'm not going to get it, if I feel like I'm not going to like it, I get scared, and so I just avoid it. But because we were doing the show, I was like, all right, I'll watch a couple of episodes. Like, what if it's bad and then I've got to interview this person? And then I demolished the entire series. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent a second not watching this show. Like, I loved it so much.
This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and our hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. That was really good. I think that deserves more than
really
a goal.
good.
Yeah. I think that was extra good, is what I'm going to say.
If you feel moved by the spirit to give a round of applause at any time, don't hold back. This is a safe space and you don't need to feel scared in this room. If you start a clap, know that every babe in this room has got your back, yeah?
She's good.
This is a rally, motherfuckers.
She's good. I'm liking...
Taking off my bra!
I would never take off my bra.
No. That was our very first episode, Sexuality with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Worth going back and listening to that.
I will.
Because Fleabag was new and exciting, but we were in Hall 2, which is only 200 seats. Now, if you had Phoebe Waller-Bridge, you'd be in a 1,000-seater.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I remember where we were, and we were backstage, and
you were an instant hit as a co-host, and we had lots of requests. When people often say to me, when I see them in public or I go on a march or I'm at another show, they go, when is Felicity Ward coming on? You're one of the ones that people ask for a lot.
oh, that's nice.
You were a go-to for a lot of our big moments. Regent's Park Theatre, our 100th episode. We had an incredible time that night. Do you remember the Regent's Park one?
I do, and do you know why I remember it? Two things. Number one, I was wearing Cal Wilson's dress. She had this dress that was too small for her. It's like this 1950s dress, and she gave it to me. And it was so tight-fitting. This before I had a kid. I could wear it without a bra, but it was so hot. I was just dripping with sweat down my front. I'm like, this is why we wear bras. We had was there a dance group or like
Yes.
a cheerleading? What were they?
Yes, there were various groups because the theme was Pride, I think.
Right.
It was an LGBTQ plus episode, I think, because it was the same time as Pride. And I remember that being a very, very joyful night.
Yeah.
You've already mentioned the Palladium,
Yeah.
which was an incredible night. And you did a sketch there. Do you remember you did a sketch?
I don't remember what I did.
You played an Australian suffragette.
Yeah, because I've still got my costume.
I absolutely love your own feminist butts. We've got some clips.
Pirate-themed wedding.
Wedding, yes.
Like wedding.
Wedding. Actual ceremony.
I
swords,
take the...
treasure hunts. It was a pirate-themed wedding.
Kind of into it.
Kind of into it. We went to the costume shop and I was like, I want to get a massive parrot outfit.
Nice.
Right? And my husband is quite tall, so I thought at one point I might be able to sit on his shoulder. That's the idea. Just for the photos.
Sure. Funny.
So we get there and I'm going through all of the books. There's no parrot my size, Devo, and then all of the pirate outfits or anything that even hinted at being for women all had sexy in front of it. All of them were sexy. All of them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe I can look in the children's section because I'm quite small. Anyway, I ended up putting something together myself. My fella got the parrot outfit. Very upsetting. He got it. He looks amazing. Good for him. And then the funniest part was the day of the wedding in the morning, we had a massive fight and then we had to drive an hour across London. Me as an angry pirate. And then we got out of the car and he had to put a huge fucking parrot outfit on. Incredible.
Mate, what you don't know is that was one of the darkest times of my relationship.
Wow.
That fight was just like, we were in trouble. We broke up maybe 2 months after that for 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very funny listening, not funny. It's interesting when I listen back. I remember when things aren't going well in my life and having to be funny in those moments. I don't know if you have those.
Oh, of course.
And you listen back and you're like, oh boy, they were dark times.
Yes, but you made something of them.
have to.
Comedians are alchemists. Like, there's nothing else you can do. You can't go out on stage or talk on a podcast and not turn it into something.
You can take 15% of it. You can take the 15 funny percent of that. And the rest of it you take to therapy.
Do you think it's therapeutic to be able to immediately see the funny side of it because you have to?
No, I don't. I think it's an incredible skill, and I love that we do it. But I don't. If anything, it creates a disingenuousness. Disingenuousness.
Yes. Yeah, I think disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I'm out there and I know that I'm they're getting the iceberg. They're getting the tip of the iceberg when actually the bit under it is that I was on tour. I cancelled a show or a gig so I could come back from Glasgow to be at that wedding. We had a massive fight. It was, look, to be honest, I will put it in a sitcom one day. It is so funny, the idea of someone in a giant parrot outfit and someone in a pirate outfit having an argument on the street before they go to a wedding. But actually, when I'm out there, I'm aware of the sadness I'm not talking about.
Now, Flick, usually with our guests, we ask how their feminism has developed over the last 10 years. But with you, we actually have a clip of your prediction of where feminism would be now.
Oh, no.
This comes from 9 years ago, episode 39. This is the only episode we've done on the theme of feminism.
How funny.
And I think it's because it was our 1 year anniversary. We had an A-lister guest, Clemence Posey, who's a French actress, who'd come over from Paris to do this.
Yeah, I remember embarrassing myself in front of her.
I think you were a last-minute booking because Sarah Pascoe was meant to do this show and couldn't do it at the last minute. So we dialed the person we knew would take it in her stride.
She would take it, always available.
The most available comedian of her generation.
Thank you so much.
Not at all. That you always can just rise at the last minute and not panic about not having any prep time. So you came on, and these are your predictions of how feminism would go in the next 9 years.
So we're discussing feminism today.
And pineapples.
If you've never been before, what we normally do is we discuss a topic through a feminist lens, but through a guilty feminist lens, because we're acknowledging what we don't do right or what we feel we don't do right or that we judge ourselves for not being good enough, etc. and so forth. But we've never talked about feminism. So today we're bravely going for the rugby tackling the full topic. How are you feeling about feminism at the moment, Flick?
We are in an interesting period with feminism. I feel like the whole world is about to explode. You know,
I feel that.
And not in feminism, but everything is about to explode. It's like everything is at the edge of its limitation. Everything is of capacity, rather. Mm-hmm. And it feels like things in the next 10 years are going to improve dramatically or die.
So you thought it would either get better or worse.
And
Flick.
here we are.
How do you think it's gone?
Pretty bad. Pretty bad. I think when Roe versus Wade got overturned, then I was like,
oh no.
oh, it's fucked. Like there was still, that you could still sort of go, I don't know, like Trump just being charged with all felonies and still being president. But if that can be undone, anything can be undone. That's what I thought. It felt like a real a linchpin where they finally, it's like they had a quick unpick.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to work at the stitches of feminism, and it was quadruple seamed, and they've just been doing that for 50 years, and then they finally got it.
Yeah.
They pulled the last one. They're like, great, we can rip the lid off this, so we can take the whole thing apart.
They're very strategic and very patient, which we tend not to be.
Yeah.
And I was talking the other night at a live show about the Overton window. So the Overton window is something that it's about public perception of something, that what's in the acceptable bandwidth to debate about, to talk about, the assumptions. So in my lifetime, the idea that women should not have the vote anywhere I've lived has been unthinkable. So no one's bothered talking about it. It's just unthinkable. Recently, far-right pundits are trying to make that radical, because that's the next step towards making it acceptable. Once it's acceptable, you can make it sensible, it's common sense. Then you can make it popular, and then you can make it policy.
Kill me now.
Well, that would be euthanasia. which for a long time was unthinkable until it was radical, until it was acceptable, till it was sensible, till it was popular, till it was policy.
I was reading an article. It's a year old, but and it's about America. But Gen Z men is the first time in 50 years that they've been less progressive than their previous.
Yes, that's right.
And they actually have more conservative ideas about women than baby boomers do.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And whereas Gen Z women are the most politically active and engaged in history, that is thrilling.
Yes. And hashtag not all Gen Z men. Some Gen Z men are really, really progressive.
Yes.
So and to me, it's activating the apolitical middle who are nice people.
Yeah.
But they've possibly given up on democracy, or the cost of living is such that they don't have time to be engaged or feel like they don't have the bandwidth.
Will we join together in this class war?
It's a class war, really, more than anything else.
That's like, they're talking about trans people, they're trying to fuck you in the economy.
Yeah.
They're trying to buy them another house, they're trying to push you into poverty.
That is correct. That is correct.
Unfortunately, men are the only ones that can save. Left-wing men are the only ones that can save right-wing men. Women won't. I'm not changing anyone else's mind.
If they're far right and they're too far gone in misogyny, we cannot save it because we're the thing that they don't, that they hate.
Kneecap is what we need.
But we do need more men who are going to have those conversations.
So I think that the opposite of Andrew Tate is kneecap. Because what you have is strong examples of masculinity in different forms, but they are both anti-establishment. They engage disillusioned and disenfranchised young men. Mm-hmm. They represent something. They represent a cause. Mm-hmm. And because they're not a whimsical boy talking, a whimsical, educated, middle class person that they can see as different. Like kneecap are angry. They are angry and they're masculine and they have a cause and they have a fight. Mm-hmm. And it's somewhere for them to put their anger and to put their passion. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, it feels like a weird thing to say, but that they seem like equivalents to me, because Andrew Tate does the same thing. He presents this version of masculinity that gives them back control, and it makes them a part of a group, and it's a part of a movement. Both of those things are movements. Kneecap isn't specifically, targeted at men, but it represents and it gives, I think, the same thing as Andrew Tate does.
Totally.
There was this video that I saw and it was so telling. And it was just on just a TikTok, and this guy was interviewing women on the street, and he said, "Would you like to live in a planet that is only women?" And they were like, "Buy me a ticket now. I will sell my house, anything." It was woman after woman after women.
Yes.
Then he did it with men and said, "Would you want to live on a planet that was only men?" And all of them were like,
"No.
Fuck no. Awful." And it's this huge dichotomy. And actually, I think it's probably a conversation that's happening for men, heterosexual men, and for heterosexual women, where we are reckoning with the fact that we are attracted to a gender that we don't necessarily like. And there's lots of conversations on the internet where men just don't like women. Like that. And I do think there's lots of men that don't actually like women, but they are unfortunately so attracted to them. They just sort of
Well, it's part of the tension, isn't it? I'm attracted to you. I can't automatically have you. Therefore, I dislike the thing that stops me having the thing I want, which is the thing I want.
But also it's submissive to love. That's a submissive act. So
it's vulnerable.
If you consider yourself an alpha male or an Andrew Tate, to love is to be submissive.
Well,
so
Nick
you have
Fuentes
to control.
said, I saw him being interviewed and he said he'd never had sex. He was pushed by Piers Morgan, Piers Morgan was going, "But you're a dinosaur, you're a misogynist." He said, I'm a boomer, but you're a young dinosaur, aren't you? And he went, "Yeah." And then he went, "Have you ever, the way you talk about women, you're such a misogynist, you don't like women. Have you ever had sex?" And he went, "No." There's this new energy of Andrew Tate basically says it's gay to have sex with a woman, because
This is what I mean.
it's because they're like, oh, you're liking them, you're touching them. Oh, you're all
It's a
like,
submissive
oh,
act.
you like the smell of roses, do you?
Gay, you fag.
It's basically, yeah.
But it is. But that's what it is. To love is to be vulnerable. If you would like to be in love, then you have to be vulnerable. To be in a relationship with someone that you can control, you do not love them.
Surely most men, are not going to follow a man who says, I've literally never had sex. That's how much I hate women.
What are you talking about? That's incel culture.
I know, but I don't think it's for most men. I really, really don't.
But if they're disenfranchised enough and they don't have other options,
we need to create other options.
we need to look. I am willing to have sex with anyone that.
Felicity herself is prepared to do away with incel culture.
If I
think
can fuck you left, that's the name of my campaign. I'll fuck you left.
I think that's a very niche OnlyFans account.
I reckon I'd make a fortune.
Oh, well, certainly you would make more than you make in comedy.
Yeah.
But that's
I
not
know, that's
necessarily
right.
how you want to make it.
Oh, yuck, having sex with incels and then crying and going, don't tell anyone. You're like, buddy, if you'd done this years ago, you wouldn't be crying now.
Do you feel your comedy's been influenced by feminism?
Absolutely. Do you know, I used to feel when I first started stand-up, I felt that women in like clubs in the audience found me a little bit alienating. I was a bit too weird to be relatable. And then I remember I wrote a bit about wearing red lipstick. Mm-hmm. So that would have been the 2018 show. So I would have written it in 2017 probably. But I remember the change that I would go into. I still remember there was a gig at the 99 Club. It was a Christmas gig. And for people that don't know, Christmas gigs are notoriously horrendous. People are drunk, there's Christmas parties,
They're
there's
with their
hens
friends,
parties.
they're with their colleagues, they want to talk.
They don't want to watch comedy, or they want something wild to happen. So there was this hens party and they were like disrupting the MC, they were disrupting the first, and so I'm like, I'm going to open with this red lipstick bit. And the thing is, if there's almost no greater threat than a group of like Gen X women in a club. If they're drunk, if they decide they don't like you, nobody likes you. They can ruin any act. Like with men, because when you're a woman, if you eviscerate a man or a group of men, it's seen as a conquest.
Yes.
And they submit. They go, oh, she won.
Yeah.
With women, you're just witnessing a bitch fight.
Yeah, it's seen as mean because you're the one with the mic and you're taking down another woman, so
but
it's seen as unfeminist.
We go back and forth. It's hard to be. It gets nasty.
Yeah,
you know.
It's not. I could never, ever. I worked this out during my first stand-up show when I did a lot of audience participation. I did a lot of crowd work, and I have to be always raising women's status. I can lower a man's status for fun if it's playful. Can't be mean, but if you're playful, you can lower a man's status. And because the natural order is, in the world we all know, more men in the House of Commons than women, and so on in the history of the world. It's intuitively within us. But it can never even playfully lower a woman's status.
I can playfully lower a woman's status, but I think because when I'm talking to them, I always come in neutral loving. That's my first port of call with anyone, and I'll give women lots of chances before I'm mean to them. I will eventually be mean to them if I have to. But I remember doing this bit and I came out and the bit is about when you first put on red lipstick that you're so nervous and you've got to like do affirmations in the mirror, and then you step outside and you're like, I feel like a slut, I've got to take it off. This was back when, again, before like Reels and TikToks had taken off. So there was YouTube tutorials, but there was still a lot of inaccessibility about making yourself look and feel beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it was just this bit that caught fire. And I remember the women like screaming with laughter, and then it just spread out. And so I started doing bits that were more like, I think maybe I subconsciously just avoided women's topics.
Right.
Just because I didn't know how to make them funny enough.
Did you write anything for the Guilty Feminist that you took off into a set?
I don't think so. I think that I just used existing stand-up mostly, and then occasionally I would tell stories that just happened to me. But I don't think I've used any of those stories that ended up going into stand-up.
So you had this bit about red lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, I feel very good. I'm very excited to be here. I put my red lipstick on. I love wearing red lippy. It wasn't always like that. I'm not sure if anyone here remembers the first time they tried to wear red lipstick. And, oh, mate, it is a nerve-wracking experience. Someone in the front row, has this been recent for you? Is it recent? No, you've been doing it for a while? How? You've got experience now. That first time, though, isn't it? You got to do a lot of positive self-talk in the mirror. You got to pop a little bit of Beyonce in the back. And you look in yourself in the mirror. You're like, you are a powerful, sexual, confident woman, and you are in charge of your own body. And then you walk out of the house. You're like, you look like a slut. Take it off. You look like a slut.
I love that bit.
But I don't think I would have used the word feminist much earlier than that in my stand-up, actually referring to myself or to the word before that, because it activates something, and I think that you need to feel confident that that is a neutral word for you. For me, if I'm going to call myself anything on stage, it needs to be neutral. I can't have strong feelings. I can't be nervous about calling myself that. So that would have been 2 years after I started doing The Guilty Feminist. I did a bit last night. I've got a new show, and it's like a 5-minute deconstruction on millennial men. I haven't written sort of politically or about any sort of issues for a very long time. It's been a lot of motherhood, and that's inherently political as well. But as far as like deconstructing an idea that I have, or having a concept about something socially or in wider society, and I feel confident enough about how I think about things now that I can approach that without feeling like an audience will go, she hates men.
Right.
But yeah, I absolutely, my stand-up is more feminist now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's been such a 10 years of all of us working together and touring together and talking about it. I think on the Guilty Feminist tours, we've talked so much about it. And I feel like it's sort of the community of women in stand-up, Guilty Feminist stand-ups, just generally being in each other's company, our friendships, has really created a strong community where we can have those conversations and we're not shying away from them. And before that period, I remember things happening in Edinburgh where I referenced there not being enough women on stage at something in a really positive, nice way, and I got blackballed. It was an improv show. I got blackballed and people wouldn't talk to me in the bar. And because, and that was not long before, that was the year before.
That
was the year before.
I mean, I think after COVID, there was it reverted in clubs to getting back to more straight white cis men. Like the lineups became a lot more white again.
Yep.
And just shout out to the Comedy Store, because the Comedy Store that in London, that used to really be their MO, a long time ago. And then in the last, I reckon I've been doing the club for 10 years there, and they've just become more and more and more diverse. And I remember even being able to have this conversation. I emailed the Simons there, and there's 2 men called Simon that booked the club. And I said, hey, I'm just letting you know there's a big trend of clubs reverting to white guys in their 40s that are straight and married, and COVID costs women just as much, and there's lots of us that have kids. So I just wondered if that is on your radar. And they were like, we have no intention of changing our booking policy. And
they haven't.
It's a very different vibe there than it was 10 years ago. I was there at the end of the Comedy Store years,
right,
of it being a threatening green room or what have you. And obviously I say that as an able-bodied, cis, for a long time, femme white woman, and a long time straight presenting. And I didn't know. I was straight for a while. So I know that I'm afforded things that other people aren't. And I also know that I have a directness and a confidence and a bolshiness that other female comics don't. So I was sort of trained in that environment. So it wasn't as threatening to me. So I know that I don't have the full experience, but I have found that the backstage there is just a completely different vibe than it was 10 years ago.
What are your hopes, Flick, can I ask, for the next 10 years of feminism?
For feminism?
And for the world.
And for the world. I mean, my hope is always that men can see that the patriarchy is harmful to them as well as us. And I, you know, like, they're not going to watch this. The people that I want to reach, they won't watch this. I am also aware that you use the words patriarchy and they just switch off. But I would like for men to know that there are structures in place that harm them, and for them to fight with us means we are fighting together for our collective future and not just for women. That's what I would like. You've
always been brilliant on mental health issues, and you were one of the first in comedy, I think, to really, really talk about mental health. We've got a lovely clip we'd love to play you.
May I just add a little addendum, because we talk about women going to the doctor and being dismissed and leaving or being offered sedatives. The flip side, I think it is worth mentioning that men predominantly don't go to the doctor, that they take too long. So, like, feminism is about equality, and also when it comes to mental health, there's only 3 countries in the world where women take their own lives at a higher rate than men. It's so disproportionate that male suicide to female suicide is so disproportionate.
So we need to encourage men to go,
yes,
to be heard, to open up. And,
yes.
Yeah, and try and open them up.
It's the buffers. I think I've spoken about this before, but I made a documentary years ago and we spoke to, there's a group called Mates in Construction who are incredible, and they go around to construction sites because construction workers die from suicide 6 times the national average. A lot of men in construction, they leave school, which is a coddled environment, and then they go into this long hours, high pressure, high financial overheads, apprentice wages, and then a very macho environment, a lot of middle management, a lot of bullying. And then they turn to alcohol and gambling sometimes, but often it'll just take one trauma or one tragedy and that will switch because there isn't the buffer. And what Mates in Construction do is they train people on site so there's someone to go to. And that sort of seems to be a big gap, is that men don't have the same buffers as women do. They don't have the same confidence. They don't have the same
they don't go for those brunches and those drinks that we were talking about earlier.
They need more illusions.
Jugs
of illusions.
We listen to each other and we counsel each other and we give each other.
Yeah, that's great, and showing that care for men in feminism, I think, is so important because it draws men in. I was listening to something today that said actually studies demonstrate that what we often need is 8 minutes of someone else's undivided attention to tell us it's going to be okay, listen to us, hear us out, make us feel there's some kind of support there. Someone loves you, someone cares about you, someone cares enough to listen to you for 8 minutes. And so I went on a couple of close WhatsApp groups and shared that clip and said, if you're ever feeling disconnected or down or just spiraling, just pop on here and say, does anyone have 8 minutes? Because someone on here can always find 8 minutes. Also, it doesn't feel bad asking for 8 minutes. Say you always feel, everyone's so busy.
8 minutes.
I don't want to throw myself on a trauma dump on anyone else, blah, blah, blah. But that could save a life.
And it also starts a pattern. Once you've done it once, then you can do it twice. Once you've done it twice, you can do it a third time.
Why don't we talk every Monday? I'll walk home and we'll have a chat on the FaceTime once a week.
8 minutes.
Exactly.
I had a breakup over the weekend. And
Flick.
Yeah, very bad. And I told my friend, and she's actually the first woman I ever dated, and we've just become friends, gay, and like just classic queer people. And then I moved to not far away from her. She's 2 suburbs along, and we have just, from the time I've moved in, we see each other like once a week. We message all day, every day, and I told her. She said, "How did the conversation go?" And I said, "We broke up," and she goes, "I'll be finished at the Tate at 6. Do you want me to come over?" And fuck me, like the difference that makes in your life. She came over, we got a takeaway, we did a jigsaw puzzle, we did colouring in. And I'm like, if I had to spend this night by myself, and I spend lots of nights by myself because I'm a single parent, but having someone come to my house, life-changing.
Yeah.
And it's genuinely changed my experience of living in London.
Yes.
Having a local friend, having a support network that, like, we do a quiz every 2 weeks. We do a quiz night. And it's like feeling like you are a part of a community where you live, and not just living there and seeing other people sometimes and not feeling important.
Or we only see each other at work. It's like, oh, I might see you if I do a gig.
That's
or,
what I mean, especially in comedy. So she's not in comedy. It makes a massissive difference. And it also takes the fear that, is this friendship only based on the fact that we work together? Am I part of the cool?
Would I ever see her again if I just stopped doing comedy?
Would they ever want to see me again? Because I know how I feel about people, but I don't know how other people feel about me. Even when I ask, you don't know if you're getting the truth.
Yes.
So to have someone to have an anchor, and then there's another friend who lives in the area too who is not in comedy, and it's transformative. Like, I truly think that it was actually after Cal died that I was like, that's the meaning of life. Friendship is the meaning of life. That's what I think.
Cal taught us a lot, even in death.
She did.
She did. She really did.
Ugh.
I know.
a
Man, I
different
wish
time.
Cal Wilson could be on 10 for 10. Every day.
You know this, right?
Oh, show me.
Can you see?
Laughed like a drain. Oh.
That's her handwriting. That's what she used to say to me all the time.
And that's her handwriting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
I cannot recommend enough getting a Cal Wilson tattoo.
Oh.
It just, I got it on the day of her first anniversary of her passing, and as soon as I got it, it was like,
love that.
I don't get very sad about it anymore, because I feel like she's in
with
me.
You. Yeah.
I feel like she's in me. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm like, it's like if I want her, I just press a button.
Oh, that's wonderful. She would love that.
Yeah, she would.
She would love that.
She would.
Can I ask, are you touring, or do you have any shows or anything you'd like to plug?
I'm going to be touring next year in Australia. I'm doing Melbourne, Sydney, New Zealand, possibly the Central Coast, and then I'm going to do 2 weeks of Edinburgh.
Felicity Ward, it's been a delight to have you for the last
it's a
10
pleasure.
years, and delight to have you in my home today. Thank you so much.
Not at all. It's the best.
You have been listening to the Guilty Feminist 10 for 10 with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Felicity Ward. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producers for The Spontaneity Shop were Ned Sedgwick and Tom Zielinski. Thanks to Gina Dicio, Zainab Mohammed, and all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.